Hello and welcome to a Blowing Bubbles edition of Your Shout. The premise is exactly the same. People send in their clips and I feature them on the show. The differences this week is they are all authors and contributors from Blowing Bubbles magazine. First up, we've got David, who's going to give you a few details about the magazine, and then we're going to deal with a few points from a few of the stories from this month's edition, which is, well, I'll let David explain.
Good evening, Gonzo. Hope you're doing well, pal. Now, the new season's very much here. We're all very excited about it. And of course, a new season means a new issue of Blowing Bubbles. Hey, with new font. New font. It looks great, doesn't it? Now, we're leading on this chat. We, thought of all our summer signings, this is the one that we're most excited about. This cheeky chappy. Now, when we signed Dimitri Payet, the August issue, we put him on the front cover, and he went on to have that storming season, didn't he? So let's hope that Hernandez uses the kind of Blowing Bubbles formula, as it were, and have a storming season this season. Let's just hope, however, that he doesn't perhaps have a second season like Dimitri Payet did. But he's leading it on the front cover. Inside, David Gold interviews leading it. A big interview again. Really happy, really pleased with the fact that we can sit down and have this chat with him. The one thing that I am most sad about this month heading into this season, though, is the fact that we're not going to have any home games. Now, for me, that's kind of almost a double blow, because one thing I really enjoyed last season was meeting all our fantastic subscribers and meeting all our new readers as well. You know, we took on so many more new readers now being out and being visible on the streets outside of London Stadium. So really, really bitterly disappointed that for the whole of this month, I'm not going to be able to have a chat with, all our readers and new readers, and just the general banter that you have from selling a magazine on the corner outside the ground. But my question for you, Gonzo, is how much of an impact do you think playing all our games away from home in August is going to have on the side?
Okay, David, I've got to point out to everybody else that I'm cheating here, really. I was on holiday last week and I got sent all these videos last week, so with the benefit of hindsight and with the benefit of having gone to Southampton, I can probably answer that a little bit more accurately than I would have done before. But if you've watched some of our other videos, then you'll know that I wasn't particularly confident. I didn't think that we were going to come away with the first 3 games away from home with a whole load of points. I thought it was a bit of a hindrance, the whole thing, the whole stadium issue, and then it looks as though something might be happening next year as well with it, albeit maybe just the first game if we qualify for Europa. Not that that's looking likely at the moment. David, it's been an absolute hindrance. We needed a couple of home games, and I miss it. It feels like it's been such a long time, and it still seems like such a long time to go until that first Huddersfield game. So the answer to your question, mate, is yeah, it's not worked out particularly well at all. I probably just should point out David's selling the copies of Blowing Bubbles magazine. All the details are below. You can find him outside the stadium, but there is an online edition. It's also on our app, the West Ham app, the Hammers Chat app. And as I say, the link will be below on how you can purchase it. I get it every month myself. It's a very, very good read. Right, next up we have got Emily. I've not seen these videos yet. I don't know what everybody wants to talk about, so let's have a little look and see what Emily has got to say.
Hi, I'm Emily from Blowing Bubbles magazine. In this month's issue, I got to tackle the case of the South American wonder kids that never were, so I took a look at the careers of both Enner Valencia and also Jonathan Calleri. And it seemed like a pretty cut and dry article, but it turns out that in the Blowing Bubbles group chat, we have quite a few Calleri fans who genuinely felt like he could have done a lot more at the club had he not been under so much pressure from the fans and surrounded by so much negativity. So the question I have for Gonzo is, with both Enner Valencia and also Jonathan Calleri, could they have lived up to their potential and actually become prolific goal scorers at the club had they been given more time and more support and less pressure from the fans? Or were they both just not up to the job, unfortunately?
Thanks for that, Emily. I've got to be brutally honest, I don't think they were up to the job. Enner Valencia had pretty much the worst ball control I've ever seen from a top-flight professional footballer. I once saw him run completely past the ball. He had a ferocious shot, but he always struck me as somebody that when you're practicing as a kid, you practice for your left foot, you practice for your right foot, you practice to hit the ball in all sort of manner and situations. It always occurred to me that Valencia needed the ball to be stationary. The moment the ball was moving, which is quite significant and quite a skill that's required and needed in football, because when people pass the ball to you, the ball is moving. When the ball was moving, he struggled to make contact, be that his first shot his first touch, or his shot from a dead ball situation, or from a ball that wasn't really moving. I thought he was all right, but he couldn't cross. He didn't have a trick, and he couldn't really score goals. He's a hero for his country, and he scores goals for them, but I just felt he could have played another season for West Ham and still not scored any goals. As for Caleri, I've got to disagree with your group chat, I'm afraid. I don't think he had the prerequisite skills required to go and perform at the Premier League. I think he had endeavour, but a lot of them do. Valencia had endeavour. I don't know if we're going to count Hernandez as Central American or South American, but I think you can see there the quality of somebody that knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. The weight is off his shoulders straight away. He's played 2 games, he's scored 2 goals, and I never felt that was really ever going to happen with Caleri. Granted, he didn't get the best chance in the world, but he was a freebie, a loan signing that didn't really work out. Right, next up we have got Greg. Greg's featured before quite a few times for us on Your Shout. Again, I don't know what Greg wants to talk about. Let's have a look what article he's got in the current edition of the magazine.
Hey guys, Greg Richardson, Blowing Bubbles magazine. My piece this month was on the much debated divisive signing of Joe Hart, so if you want to read my 2 pence worth, pick up a copy of the magazine this month. What I wanted to talk about though was articles, pieces that we've done with George Paris and Hugh Sultan, talking about what Slav needs to do to have a successful season this year, given that he's been back so well in the transfer market. He said himself that all the signings he's made have been his sort of #1 choices. They seem to suggest sort of like an 8th place at least finish is what we need. Personally, I'd kind of think that as long as we put in better performances and we don't get turned over at home so easily, and we finish sort of 10th or upwards, that's a successful season. But I'm interested to know what Gonzo and the rest of the guys think. So what are your views? Cheers.
Thanks for that, Greg, mate. I think you'd need a miracle, really. I don't think finishing 8th would guarantee him a new contract. I really don't. I think he'd have to win a cup. I'm honestly looking at it thinking his time is probably up. I think the owners are possibly looking at it and thinking his time is probably up. I think they've got their eyes on other managers. I think possibly the club have flirted with other managers as well. I don't think he's convinced the board at all, and I just don't think a mid-table finish is going to do it. I think they would have been at the outset looking for him to improve on his first season. His second season he didn't, and his third season is pivotal for him. I don't think they're going to be offering him a new contract halfway through, so I think you'll get the situation that you always get with these owners, which is they will allow the contract to run down and they will have some talks at the end of the season. Well, at the end of the season his contract is run out, and I just cannot see it being renewed, mate. That's my honest opinion. Not exactly what I want to happen. I'd like him to do well. I'd like him to perform better, and I'd like him to be a success because he is a nice guy, but I can't see it because I can't see him finishing top 6, and for that reason I think he needs to win a cup, and that's very, very hard to do because everybody else is trying to win that cup as well, mate. Right, who have we got here? I think we've got Holly.
Hello, it's Holly, and I've been writing loads this month about giving the youth a chance in the squad, which to my excitement already seems to be happening. So we had Rice come on in the first game of the season against Man United. It really was not an ideal result at all, but his performance was absolutely great. He had a 96% pass completion rate, I believe, and he didn't get dispossessed once, which in my eyes is an absolutely brilliant first performance. So hopefully we will get to see some more of the youth. Last season it was difficult. Hopefully this season they will get more of a chance to do that and actually prove what they're worth and why we should give them a chance. So my question to you, Gonzo, is who would you like to see played from the youth?
Thank you, Holly. Yeah, he looked mustard. Rice does look a real prospect. I'd like to see him play some games at centre-back, and as I say, with the benefit of hindsight, I know you recorded that before the Southampton game, but looking at the way we have been leaking goals, I don't think he could really do a lot worse. Plus we've got Winston Reid out for a little while as well. Coina did very well at the European Championships. I think there would have been a case for Martinez to play, but it's almost he's had his chance, in as much as if he was ever going to play, it really would have been when he was at loan out to Oxford last season. It really would have been when we had no strikers and we were down to the bare bones. That's not happened anymore. We've got Hernandez. Sacco has regained fitness, and apparently Andy Carroll looks like he's coming back. So I'm going to go for probably young Nathan Holland. I think he looks really good in pre-season, looks every bit as good as Rice. I think with Faguli going and with Snodgrass, looks like he's going to be out the door. Then I do think maybe not in the starting lineup, but there is a space there for a winger. Again, you won't have known this when you did your video. Arnautovic is out. He elbowed somebody, so we're down on a winger. Ayew is not a winger, and Holland looks like he's got pace to burn and can go past a man and has an eye for goal. So that would be my choice, Holly. Right, next up and finally we have Lucy.
Benitez had taken over West Ham as manager instead of Bilic. According to David Sullivan, we were 2 hours away from signing before Madrid swooped in, and obviously he chose Madrid. It's hard to say how we would have reacted exactly, but we would have had a very organised side. Benitez has carried that throughout his career. He's been very good at knowing what he wants, organising his side and making his signings be around that. But on the other hand, would he have stood up too much to the co-owners in terms of budget and signings that he wanted? I think that could be a good thing. If we looked at some of Bilic's signings, they weren't his signings. But you don't want someone who's going to fall out too easily. Benitez has fallen out with a few clubs, a few fans, didn't end well for him at Madrid. So I'm still happy with Bilic, I always was. It's just a consideration to say, what if he had been manager?
Thank you very much for that, Lucy. Again, this is something that I'm looking at with the benefit of hindsight, and after the Southampton result, I'm not entirely sure Rafa Benitez would be warmly welcomed by West Ham, and maybe initially he might have been, but I'm pretty sure once we saw his brand of football, people might have found it a little bit boring. We're speaking hypothetically, of course, but what would have happened if he'd have been in charge this season at the start of the season? I'm not entirely sure. He's not had a great start to the season at Newcastle, and I do think, though, he probably sets up defensively a little bit more astutely than Bilic does. So I would imagine we probably wouldn't have conceded 7 goals in the first 2 games. That's probably got a lot to do with it. Again, it's hard to say. If Rafa was in charge, would we have even bought Hernandez, which looks like a good buy? Would we have bought Arnautovic? Would he have tried to bring his own players in? He probably would have done. I guess the proof of the pudding will be after the Huddersfield game. Bilic isn't getting sacked tomorrow or anything like it, but I do think if we get past the Huddersfield game and he doesn't have any points, then he's in trouble. He's banging trouble and could well lose his job. At that point, would we look at Benitez? Well, that depends on how well Newcastle have done. If Newcastle are sat at the bottom of West Ham United in 3 games' time, and then we're not going to look at him as a viable candidate. And I probably think his time has come and gone in that respect, and there are younger, more vibrant, ambitious managers out there. That's my opinion on it. But Lucy, thank you very much. Thank you very much to everybody else that sent your clips in. As I said, these guys, you can read these guys all the time. They're basically talking about the articles that they've penned and they've written in the August edition of Blowing Bubbles magazine. I'm going to do this again next month. I'll get it out a little bit earlier so as we can start to preview what the September edition of Blowing Bubbles magazine is going to entail. But it's a really good read. You're going to have to look online at the moment. I think you can mail order it. You can order it every month. You can do a year's subscription. I'll leave the details below. It will describe it far better than I ever could. Right, we've got a lot going on this week. Loads going on the main channel. Previews, reviews, Cheltenham game. We've got Newcastle coming up. We've got so much content coming up because the games are coming thick and fast. So it's sort of rush. and then we've got international break, and it's all going to go quiet again. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for joining in. Don't forget to send in your clips, info@hammerschat.com. I want your views, I want your opinions, and I want your clips from your days out when you've gone to watch West Ham. Big shout out, big thanks to our sponsor Noble Holidays. Until next time, and I will see you very soon. Thanks very much for watching, and thank you very much to the Blowing Bubbles team.